Jamahl Mosley was succinct and clear after Friday's game. We got our butts kicked, and he didn't say butts today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is December 26th. It will be December 27th, 2025. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com, credentialed member of the Orlando Magic media since the 2012 season, coming to you from the Kia Center after the Orlando Magic fall to the Charlotte Hornets 120-105. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, Jamahl Mosley put it best. I can't say it better. The Magic got their butts kicked. How the Magic continued to show poor effort, continue to struggle with a lot of things that they're typically good at, and why that led to a bad loss to the Charlotte Hornets. Plus, we didn't get to it yesterday, so it's time to get to it today because the lingering concerns are still here. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. First, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day, no matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload. We truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. You can make Locked On Magic even bigger part of your day by being one of our Orlando Magic dailies. That means you're an everydayer. You listen 5 days a week. You listen to weekend episodes after games like this one. You are part of our everydayer club. We're part of your regular podcast rotation. We're your first listen of the day. We want to thank you again for being part of our great Locked On Magic community, our growing Locked On Magic community. And we want to thank you for helping make the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. There's a lot of complicated ways that we could talk about this game. There is a lot of things that we can say, and we'll get to some of them. But it is exceedingly rare right now, and it's always been exceedingly rare, but it is exceedingly rare when Jamahl Mosley just comes out and says essentially what he said in the locker room. It is exceedingly rare for Jamahl Mosley to just be blunt, to give a Steve Clifford style, I'm going to sit down, say what needs to be said. And frankly, I would have been shocked if he just got up and left and pulled a straight Steve Clifford. Steve Clifford would do this after games like this, where he'd be so angry with the team, he'd come down, give his opening statement, say his piece, usually very pointed, usually very fiery, and then just leave. And it got to a point that he did it, that we would joke about it, and we would predict, is Steve Clifford going to do one of these? Jamahl Mosley's not like that. He is usually calm. He's usually level-headed. He's the calm in the storm. He coaches with a lot of passion. You can see that on the sideline. When he comes and speaks to the media, when he comes and does his thing, he is as level-headed as anyone else. And if there's a reason why the Magic have been successful, and if there's a reason why he has been successful as a coach, it's because players draw from his intensity, but also draw from how calm he is. I've done that episode before when the Magic had a lot of chaos around him, and you look at the bench, and Jamahl Mosley is still calm and coaching his team, and his team mirrors that. And so, yes, I am going to take note when Jamahl Mosley comes out and says something as pointed as he did tonight to open up his press conference after the Magic's loss 120-105 to the Charlotte Hornets. He said quite simply, we got our butts kicked. And this is a family show. He didn't say butts. And he said it even later in the press conference that I used a lot more choice words than I'm using with you guys in this presser when I spoke to the team. It'd be one thing if we're talking X's and O's. It'd be one thing to say, the Magic didn't do this scheme right, or they didn't execute this offensively right, or it just came down to shot making. And look, Charlotte made a lot of shots. So the Magic could have played well tonight, and Charlotte still might have won because Charlotte played well. And listen to our friends at Locked On Hornets. They do a great job. They do an incredible job covering that team. They may have just made shots. But the Magic never got the chance to make this a make or miss game. The Magic never gave themselves a chance to say, like, oh, well, we caught Charlotte on the wrong night. That happens. And they stink when they happen, but they happen. These are NBA teams. You're going to catch even bad teams on good nights sometimes. And Charlotte's a much better team than their record. Let's make that clear. They're 11-20. They've got a lot of talent. That's a much better team than their record suggests. This was a matter of effort. And if there's one thing we have never questioned about this Magic team in Jamahl Mosley's 4 years, not for an instance, maybe a game here and there, maybe a total of 5 games during a season. We never question whether they are the hardest working team on the court. We never question whether the Magic are the hardest working team on the court. I mean, what else is there to say? And certainly tonight, certainly in this game, the Hornets were the harder working team. It's not just that they shot better. 47.1%, 19 for 39 from 3, 48.7%, 28 free throw attempts. It's 16 offensive rebounds for 25 second chance points. It's forcing 50. It's giving up 15 turnovers, but only giving up 9 points off those turnovers. It's 11 points off 8 turnovers. A few mistakes the Magic made. It's the Magic getting 16 offensive rebounds, but only scoring 11 second chance points. The Magic did some things that would suggest they are working hard. And we can break down the box score, and we'll talk about the box score. We'll talk about what actually went wrong. But if you watch this game for any stretch of time, you would know Charlotte just went for it more. Charlotte was getting multiple offensive rebounds in a possession until they finally got a shot to go down. They were kicking out to three-point shooters and making open shots. They were everywhere, and the Magic weren't. It was a poor defensive effort. Even if Charlotte was making shots, which I will grant, maybe Charlotte was just Charlotte's night. Maybe this was always destined to be a loss, and that happens in the NBA. It's not the loss that should bother you. It's how the Magic lost. It's the Magic getting sucked into a back and forth three-point shooting game, sucked away from who they are as a team, sucked into a game where the Magic weren't the aggressors on defense, weren't the ones hitting first. Jamahl Mosley said that too. How do you get out of this? Hit somebody. Box them out. Be the more physical team. And that's not who the Magic were. That's not what they did. That's not the way that they played. And there are a lot of things that we can talk about. There are a lot of things that we can say and be like, okay, the Magic are, without Franz, Wagner, and Jalen, Suggs, two of their best point of attack defenders. And that's going to make things harder. Like, I don't think any of us are expecting necessarily the Magic to be the same team that they are when they're fully healthy. Right now, it's about getting wins where you can, holding the ship steady, embracing your identity, doing who you are more. And that's how the Magic has survived these moments. Like we spoke to Goga Bitadze before the game, who sat out this game with a knee strain. And, Goga Bitadze kind of laughed when he asked, like, how do you think the team's done kind of rallying around with all the injuries? And he says, like, we're kind of used to this. Like, the Magic know what it takes to survive and to thrive with all the injuries. And that makes the injuries not an excuse. Because the Magic aren't doing that. The Magic aren't playing Magic basketball. Right now, the Magic don't look like that team. And there are a number of reasons why. We're going to get into a lot of them here in a minute. But it all starts with that basic premise. It all starts with that basic fact. The Magic have to be the hardest working team. That is who they are. That is the core of their identity. That everything else sprouts from that. And when you miss shots at the rim, at the level the Magic miss shots at the rim, when you get beat on the offensive glass at the level they got beat on the glass, when you give up cheap fouls at the level that the Magic gave up cheap fouls, when you do all those things and put yourself in a hole where you're climbing uphill against a team that is shooting very, very well and dictating the terms, when you are unable to dictate terms with your top-rated defense, with your defense that's supposed to be the best in the league. And again, you're missing key players. It's harder. The Magic aren't the team they need to be. And in these moments when you're dealing with adversity, when you're dealing with injuries, when you're dealing with inconsistency, you got to find the thing you can rely on. I've said this a million times. If you've listened to my show over the years, I say this every time. The NBA regular season is about knowing what you can do on your worst night. What can you be successful at on your worst night? That's your identity. And the question is quite clear at this juncture. The question's quite clear after these last 4 or 5 games. The Magic don't know their identity. So let's talk about what's changed over the last 5 games. We're going to talk about the concerning trends that all seem to fester and finally beat them on Friday night. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Robinhood. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets change the game. It's people moving the action, so when momentum shifts, you can move with it. You know the game. You listen to the show, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now you can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You are no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is also brought to you by our friends over at DoorDash. The season is heating up, and DoorDash has a way to keep fans in their bag the whole way through. Whether you're watching the highlights, the tunnel fits, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes the entire season more fun. Because what's a game without a snack, without something to munch on? Because every player has their bag. With DoorDash, fans have one too. DoorDash keeps your snacks stocked, your gear fresh, and your watch party vibes absolutely on point. If the group chat says pull up, DoorDash makes sure you show up prepared. Snacks, cups, even a phone charger for that friend who's always at 2%. From tip-off to overtime, stay in your bag and order on DoorDash. Get snacks, drink, gear, whatever gets you through the season, delivered right to your door. DoorDash in your bag all season long. We want to thank you for making Locked On Magic your first listen of the day, and thank you for helping make the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out our new Everydayer Club. You get access to an ad-free audio feed for Locked On Magic, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. You also get an invite to members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners to the show. I'm starting to experiment with it. I'm starting to do a little bit more, providing you some free thoughts during the game after the quarter breaks on the Discord server, stuff that I'm not posting on my public social media. So if you want to be part of the conversation, talk to me while I am watching games. That is the place to be, is on the Everydayer Club. Go to lockedonmagic.supercast.com. That's lockedonmagic.supercast.com, or tap the link in the show notes to learn more. We were going to talk about this yesterday, and I ran out of time because I talked for a very long time about Paolo Banchero, which is the hot topic, still remains the hot topic. We will talk about Paolo Banchero in our third segment. And I meant to use my third segment on yesterday's show to talk about lingering concerns, to talk about things the Magic did not do effectively on the road trip that cost them games during the road trip, that were very concerning during that road trip, but that the Magic seemed to survive and skate by. I would say this: a lot of those things that were concerning on the road trip, every single, except for turnovers, every single one of them came to roost in this game. Everything the Magic have been struggling with for a while now came to roost in this game. Since the Magic got home from Vegas, so we're going to throw the NBA Cup out, essentially since Jalen Suggs has been out, which is a big, big loss. The Orlando Magic have simply been one of the worst teams in the league. I had several people say this Magic team right now is not a playoff team. They're a lottery team. We're losing to a lottery team. What's going on? Well, guess what? In 4 games, during that 4-game West Coast road trip, because this game hasn't been counted in the NBA.com stats as I'm doing this podcast and reading off these stats, the Magic are 2-2. So again, holding water, like that's the goal right now. They're 2-3 now in the 5 games since Jalen Suggs got hurt. They have a 109.8 offensive rating. They have a minus 7.6 net rating, which is the 6th worst in the league. They got a 109.8 offensive rating, which is 8th worst in the league, and a 117.4 defensive rating. That 117.4 defensive rating is 19th in the league over the last or since December 15th, since the NBA Cup semifinals. Again, quite simply, if the Magic want to win, especially with the guys that they're missing, and again, Franz and Jalen are the 2 best point of attack defenders on the team. You watch the games over the last few weeks. The Magic are terrible at the point of attack right now. They're giving up and bleeding points in pick and rolls. And it's just, Anthony Black is a great help defender. I think he's a growing point of attack defender. He's not great handling pick and rolls yet. Wendell Carter does his best. Magic probably better off just switching at this point. Just to kind of keep guys in front and keep guys out of the lane and deal with the consequences. But the problem is that means they're giving up something on the defensive glass. I have people who tell me all the time, Orlando is a terrible rebounding team. And I tell them all the time, you are wrong. Statistically, the Magic are one of the best rebounding teams on the league on both sides, on the offensive glass and the defensive glass. They are, I think, entering the game today, they were 4th in the league in defensive rebound rate. They're like 2nd or 3rd, they're the top 10 at least. They've slipped over the last few weeks, but they're still like 8th or 9th in the league in second chance points per game. The Magic, since Jalen Suggs went out, are 17th in defensive rebound rate, 68.5%. They've gone from like 71, 72% defensive rebound rate. And so that just means they're grabbing 71, 72%. And again, offensive rebounds are up around the league. Like teams are getting more offensive rebounds. But that is one of the best marks in the league. They're one of the best rebounding teams in the league. They give up a lot of second chance points. It's been a problem throughout the year that's gone on and off, but they have been great at rebounding, and now all of a sudden, they just stink. They just absolutely stink at it. And you look at this game against the Hornets. Charlotte gets a 123.7 offensive rating, 123.7 points per 100 possessions. Just the Magic have had, I believe, 5 games this year giving up more than 120 points per 100 possessions. Their bad defensive games have been really bad. They had 12 total, I think, all of last season. They're already about half of that amount. And if I'm not mistaken, it is now 4 of the last 7 or 4 of the last 8 games they've given up an offensive rating of more than 120 points per 100 possessions. Their defensive rebound rate, 58%. A 58% defensive rebound rate. They're barely grabbing more than half of the misses of the Charlotte Hornets. And look, Charlotte is one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the league. They attack the glass with ferocity. And if you can get rebounds, you can get out in a run and beat them because they're committing so much to the glass. But Jamahl Mosley put it after the game. What the Magic did was they tried to out-jump these really athletic Hornets players. They pretend to play small, but they attack the glass. They tried to out-jump these players, and they didn't get a body on them. They didn't hit them. And that's what the Magic have to do to succeed. That's what the Magic have to do to win. That's not what they're doing right now. That's not what they're doing, and that is why they are losing. Just plain and simple. That is why they are losing. You look at these numbers that the Magic have been so reliable with all season. Rebounding is one of them. Turnovers. Magic were good with turnovers in this game. But the Magic have been surprisingly one of the best teams at turnover rate all season. They're at like 14% turnover rate. And they're still about there, but they've had some bad turnover games. The second chance points. Let's do the second chance points then. Magic on Friday night gave up 16 offensive rebounds for 25 second chance points. Charlotte was 9 for 17 on second chance points. They still missed a lot of opportunities. For the season, Orlando is 4th in the league, giving up 13.6 second chance points per game. Their average for the season, including tonight now, because those stats have updated all of a sudden, including tonight, is 13.6. They're one of the best teams in the league at limiting second chance points. And Charlotte won this game with 25 second chance points. Again, since December 15th, since the Magic got home from Vegas, the Magic are giving up. The number was 13.7, I think. Since coming home from Vegas, the Magic are giving up a league worst 20.8 second chance points per game. You want to know why the Magic are losing? You want to know why the Magic are struggling so much? They are bleeding extra opportunities. When they get stops, when they force misses, they're out of position for rebounds. They're giving up rebounds. And whatever little rebounds they are giving up, and they're giving up a lot of rebounds right now, whatever offensive rebounds they are giving up, teams are scoring on them. This isn't the formula. This is getting outworked. This is the definition of getting outworked. And we talked about that in the loss to the Warriors. They got outworked. We talked about that in the win over the Jazz. And large parts of that game got outworked. Against the Blazers, same thing. Magic did a lot of good things. They defended well that game. Toward down the stretch, they got outworked. These are concerns that have been happening for 5 games. And so the question is, are the Magic going to stop? And I've said this too. The Magic have done good things, and they did some okay things in this game. Maybe tonight was just a bad shooting night. We don't know because they got outworked. If the Magic play hard, outwork the other team, and it's just a bad shooting night, make or miss league. Stinks. Losses aren't good, but you can live with it. They've been outworked for 2 weeks now. And nothing's going to change until that stops happening. And that leads us to our stars. That leads us to the players the Magic lean on the most. But the Magic just simply need more from Paolo Banchero. We're going to get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. During basketball season, there's nothing like being in the building like I am right now. The energy, the crowd, the first big run that gets everyone on their feet. Fans want to be there for those moments, not stuck refreshing screens or guessing what tickets are really going to cost. That's where Game Time comes in. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage back, making it incredibly easy to score amazing tickets. Fast, simple, and without the guesswork. Browsing the Game Time app is straightforward and intuitive. Finding tickets takes just a few taps. You can find tickets to so many great events, not just basketball games, not just sporting events, but theater, concerts, and shows too. Prices include fees up front, so the total is clear from the start what you're going to pay for those tickets. And with zone deals, you can unlock great seats at even better value. Whether it's an NBA game or another live event, everything is right there in one place. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA, for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today and get in on the action. All right, as we do after every game, let's run through the box score, talk a little bit about what individuals did that contributed to this game. And again, it's about effort. And so there's a lot of bad in this game. You know, like the guys that I would say played with good effort in this game are very, very small. I thought Anthony Black generally did good things. 8 for 17 shooting, 4 for 7 from 3. Magic usually win when he shoots well. Like he did his part. 24 points. 4 assists, 3 rebounds. Did have 2 turnovers. Again, just generally, I thought he played well. Fell in love with the shot a little bit. Defensively was a bit of a mess. Again, like AB is still developing as a point of attack defender. I thought Charlotte did a good job attacking him and putting him in some uncomfortable positions. And he gets a little overeager still. But a lot of really, really tough stuff there from him. But again, like he brought the energy. I would say Tristan Silva played with fantastic energy. Tristan Silva in his first game back, 3 for 8 shooting, 1 for 2 from 3, looked a little rusty at times, but looked refreshed. Looked like a lot more comfortable as a shooter, and that's gonna be important. 8 points for him in his return game from the shoulder injury. Jace Richardson, I thought, played with good energy, 14 points, 5 for 7 shooting. Some of it coming at the end of the game, but Jace generally did good things, generally, plays with so much energy and is always trying to attack. The Magic right now just need guys who are going to get downhill and just make things happen. Having said that, I still think Tyus Jones played with good energy. I want to give him some credit too. Tyus Jones finished with 8 points, 3 for 5 shooting, 2 for 4 from 3, 3 assists. I think he generally was trying to help the team push the pace, get them into their sets, and get them going as quickly as possible. The problem still remains. It's very hard to win when your best players don't play well. You look at Charlotte. LaMelo Ball shot 7 for 20, 4 for 10, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 6 turnovers. He had 22 points. That is usually that feels like a typical LaMelo Ball game. Like, again, I'm not the biggest LaMelo Ball guy. He seems like he's kind of off in his own world, and that feels like a very typical LaMelo Ball game, and it can work, it cannot work. Con Knipple had 16 points all in the first quarter, hit 4 threes. He left with an ankle injury near halftime. Brandon Miller didn't have the greatest game, 5 for 16 shooting, 2 for 5 from 3, 15 points. Miles Bridges had a very nice game with 16 points, 11 rebounds, 6 for 13 shooting. You look at Charlotte's 3 main guys, they didn't play super efficient, but you get so many bites at the apple. Moussa Diabate has 7 offensive rebounds, 13 total. Miles Bridges had 3 offensive rebounds. You get those 16 offensive rebounds, you get those extra bites at the apple. It doesn't matter how poorly you shoot, especially when the rest of the team is shooting so well and you're making threes. Charlotte won on 3-point math almost alone. But with the Magic down so many players and the Magic kind of struggling to find themselves, they need the safety release valve that comes from a star player. And it's quite simple. Desmond Bane was 7 for 20 and 0 for 6 from 3 for 15 points, had 10 rebounds, 4 assists. Like, again, I think Bane fights. I think that the Magic, especially with the players they're missing, Bane has to do more on the ball, and that makes him less effective as a three-point shooter. Glad he got 6 3-point attempts, but that makes him less effective as a shooter. He's trying to get downhill. Like, he does that scoop shot because he is just not tall enough to finish over defenders. I'd rather him try and shoot over them with a regular shot or a floater than that scoop shot that seems so easily blocked. Bane's just going to run hot or cold. And the Magic may go as Desmond Bane goes, but it's been so clear for the last week, especially since Jalen Suggs has been out. The Magic need Paolo Banchero to be Paolo Banchero. Like, I have no other way to say this. The Magic need Paolo Banchero to be Paolo Banchero. They don't need like him as a decoy. They don't need him as a playmaker. They don't need him as someone who's just trying to fit in and make everyone else better. They need Paolo Banchero to be Paolo Banchero. And look, Paolo, just like LaMelo Ball, just like Brandon Miller, he's gonna have bad nights. And I'd rather him have a bad night being aggressive. And there's hints of it, but whatever the Magic are getting for Paolo Banchero isn't enough right now. He had 13 points, 4 for 13 shooting, 5 for 6 from the foul line, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 turnover, 2 steals. So there's good things there. And again, like, I want to be clear. I generally think Paolo is trying to do the right things. I generally think he is trying to be quicker with his decision-making. He's trying not to dominate the ball. He's trying not to take bad shots. But guess what? You're the star. Like, you need to impose yourself on the game. And these last 5 games especially, there have been moments where you're just begging Paolo, where the team just needs someone to like calm them down and make a shot. And that's supposed to be your star. It was Jamal Murray in one game. It was, Isaiah Collier and Keontae George in the Jazz game. It was Denny Avdia and Shaedon Sharpe on against the Blazers on Tuesday. It was Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler. Sometime, and Desmond Bane came through in both Utah and Portland to get the Magic to the finish line. Like, you just need someone that's going to push you to the finish line. And with the way Paolo's playing, it's not that he's playing slow. It just feels like he is slow. And I can't tell if the problem is whether he can't or he won't. it very much feels like he's trying to reach into that well and reach into that bag and say, and find that push, and it's just not there. And you can just kind of tell he is uncomfortable taking shots. Like he's avoiding his jumper. You get to see him kind of thinking and getting frustrated out there. This is not just a Paolo problem, although Paolo is part of this. The Magic just, and this has been the case for the last few games now, the Magic are just struggling to make shots at the rim and struggling to make shots in the paint. Orlando outscored Charlotte 46-42 in the paint. So they're getting there. And this is how the Magic make up, the way the Magic make up for their poor three-point shooting is points in the paint, is free throw attempts. Charlotte had 28 free throw attempts to Orlando's 23, so that was a problem as well. But Orlando made one more free throw than them. That's good. Offensive rebounds. Orlando had 16 offensive rebounds. They matched Charlotte's offensive rebounds, just got killed on second chance points. Magic getting second chance points has been a huge factor this season. But the Magic need to make shots at the rim. They shot 23 of 56 in the paint. 23 of 56. They were 15 for 34. That is 44.1% in the restricted area. Charlotte was 13 for 21. So the Magic got far more attempts, but only 2 more makes. Paolo Banchero by himself in this game was 2 for 6 in the restricted area, 1 for 4 in the paint outside the restricted areas, 3 for 10. These are the shots you're trying to get. These are the shots you want. And right now, the Magic are struggling to get those shots. Right now, the Magic are struggling to make the simple shots they've been trying to get. And you can see heads droop. You can see players get discouraged. You can see everything just work against them. And, again, like you got to keep, you got to keep banging your head against the wall because these are the shots the offense is designed to get. And look, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to tell you. You got to get to the foul line and you got to make shots at the rim. They're getting them. Like if there's a positive in all this, they are getting these shots. And if they make them at even a halfway decent mark, they're going to be fine. A good chunk of their problems are they're missing these shots at the rim and the floor is unbalanced because you're getting to the rim and suddenly you're dealing with fast break going back the other way. And there's no way around that because Orlando doesn't have much else offensively. They're not a great jump shooting team. They're not a good three-point shooting team. They don't have really anyone else that could attack. Like, unfortunately, right now, like, the Magic are going to go how Paolo and Bane go. And when Bane plays really well, which he did in Utah, did in Portland, the Magic have a clear shot at winning. And unfortunately, right now for Orlando, Paolo just isn't Paolo. And I have no explanation and no other way to get around other than to say the Magic need Paolo to be Paolo. And whatever's going on, and I don't know what's going on. I really don't. I have theories that I can't back up, and so I'm not going to report them. I'm not going to suggest them to people other than, you ask me what my theory is on Everydayer Club. I'll give you my theory on the Everydayer Club. The Magic just aren't going to be an elite team. Certainly, they can't be an elite team like a championship level team unless Paolo's Paolo. They can't win right now without Paolo being Paolo. They'll be fine, and they'll probably survive a little bit when Franz and Jalen Suggs are back because they just elevate this team so much. Paolo has great chemistry with Jalen Suggs. Jalen Suggs feeds off of the attention Paolo gets for his open threes. That's going to help the team so much. And again, I don't want to throw all this on Paolo. The Magic do not put him in a position to succeed. I want to make that clear too. Clearly, something is up with Paolo, and the Magic are playing him like he is 100% healthy and able to do everything that they want him to do. That's not going to work. It is, yes, it is on Jamahl Mosley to get Paolo the ball in different spots, in spots that he can attack quickly, gain an advantage, and gain some confidence. And giving the ball at the top of the key, trying to set up a pick and roll to try and force a switch, that ain't going to do it. It's just not going to do it. He's just not enough of a threat as a jump shooter. teams are ducking under that screen. It doesn't matter. The Magic need to get creative with how they get Paolo the ball. And, again, that's just the truth of it. And the lineups that Paolo was in today were not lineups advantageous to him. He was in I think it was a Tyus Jones, Noah Penda, Jonathan Isaac, Paolo Banchero, and either it wasn't Jace Richardson, but Anthony Black lineup. And look, Anthony Black made his threes today, and Noah Penda's generally making threes, but no one's scared of any shooters on that floor except for Tyus Jones. And they didn't run very many Tyus Paolo pick and rolls. They've got to be more. They got to help Paolo out. They got to help him find himself. Because right now, just everything's hard. Like, Paolo isn't clearly right. And the Magic are making it hard on him on top of that. And again, they're not going to win without him. So they got to figure it out. They got to find a way. And again, you add that with the effort being poor, and it was a disastrous night that I frankly don't want to talk about anymore. I got it right still, but I frankly don't want to talk about it anymore. The Orlando Magic fall to the Charlotte Hornets 120-105 here in their homecoming game to the Kia Center. They are back in action Saturday night against, the Denver Nuggets. Only the best offense in the league. Should be a fun time. We'll cover that game on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Magic. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himmel, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the FOMC download podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out Orlando. You can also find us on YouTube. Just search for Locked On Magic. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, Orlando Magic Hub, where I actually broke down Paolo Banchero's struggles shooting at the rim since coming back from injury before Friday's game. That's up on the Orlando Magic Hub at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. Subscribe or buy the article today. And thank you for your support. Now that you're done making Locked On Magic your first listen of the day, go check out our Everydayer Club. It is the best last-minute holiday gift. It's the best way to start the new year. Ad-free episodes of the show, exclusive Discord server access where you can ask me questions like my Paolo Banchero 3 and more. Subscriptions can be gifted through LockedOnMagic.supercast.com. That's LockedOnMagic.supercast.com. For those of you on video, we're going to send you to the first ever 24/7 national NBA YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen NBA game night, where I'm sure they will be panicking just as much as you are about the Orlando Magic on Locked On NBA. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. We'll be back tomorrow to recap the Magic's game against the Denver Nuggets. Until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.